Alright, so now we're actually going to start looking at actual attacks out of this underhook position. One of the reasons I did Dogfight first was because when the person defends your attacks, you end up in that spot a lot. So like that's kind of where these attacks will break down, whether it's single leg, knee pick, things like that. It'll end up breaking down when the opponent defends into dogfight position most of the time. So here we see Amuzad. We're going to focus on single legs on this one. Simple throw by to a single leg. Amuzad comes up from short offense with his hook. All right, now the thing to read here is the opponent's overhook. All right, so again, if the opponent keeps their overhook, it'll likely end up in dogfight. So instead, I would imagine, you can't quite see it, but right here we can see where the opponent's hand has come over top of Amuzad's back. All right, this makes the throw by super easy and clean to their leg or body. All right, so as he throws by, we see that big weight shift where he drops his head and throws the opponent through. And since the opponent has no overhook, there's nothing behind Amuzad's arm to stop him from getting thrown all the way by for the most part. All right, if his overhook is behind his arm, that's something that stops Amuzad from throwing him all the way through. So it's kind of a thing to read when you're in this underhook position. If they don't have an overhook, throw them by, like right away. You just go simple single leg, run down finish. But for the most part, any clean, successful throw by to the legs or just to their body or to the mat comes from either slipping the opponent's overhook on your throw by, or they try to clear and you throw them by. Here's one more quick little throw by. We see the opponent doesn't have an overhook to start, so he's going to look throw by pretty much right away. So we see hand over top and not wrapped with an overhook. So as we continue the clip, we'll see the step across and lean and weight shift through the hook, and other hand come into attack knee. All right, and there's nothing on this side of Amuzad's arm to stop being turned away, giving up this side of their body. He throws by, catches. Now opponent comes back to try an overhook, but for the most part, it's pretty much too late. And in the next clip, we'll see where Amuzad will change their direction backwards when they do overhook. So again, underhook, kind of this little throw by single leg. Here the opponent is going to have an overhook. All right, so initially we see hand over top. So Amuzad's read is throw by. All right, and then he throws by. Opponent gets his overhook wrapped in, which stops his momentum from going all the way forward and past. All right, but then Amuzad's going to step back behind. So we see with footwork, steps across, shifts weight. As he throws, steps behind, very similar to a kind of dogfight, hips lower than opponents. And he's going to kind of look to change his direction back toward the opponent's butt. Here we see his head push and hand drop, kind of almost tabletopping-ish the opponent's leg with his back leg. Drives through, almost gets a 4 here, pretty close. Opponent barely gets turned back down. All right, so one more time with that. Just take a look at this over. Okay, again, initially doesn't feel overhook, so he's like, yeah, throw him by. Then as he throws him by, opponent is able to get his hand back in the way, and then changes the direction backwards. Across, back, simple finish. In these last two clips, we're going to take a look at where the single leg attempt is kind of failed and you end up in dogfight position. All right, here's Yazdani. He doesn't do a ton of throw by single legs, but it's a very similar motion as Amuzad. So here, throws, hands looking to catch. All right, we can see opponent keeps the overhook, which stops him from being thrown all the way past. And he'll end up into this dogfight position on the mat, which is why it's so important to have options out of here if you're going to wrestle this Iranian underhook position. Last clip here, this time it's Imami. He throws by, looks for single leg, guy gets his overhook back in and ends up in this dogfight. Again, just another example of where opponent defends, you need to have another option. All right, and dogfight is essential for this underhook position. All right, so a lot of similar things happening. Gets his hook. All right, opponent's hand is over top to start. All right, so he looks throw by. The opponent is able to swim this hand back over to get to overhook. All right, Imami really likes looking for body lock in here, so he tries to transition to that right away, but gets pulled down into this dogfight position and starts to do all the things that you can see in previous videos if you're interested in reviewing those. So he attacks foot, starts to shelf. I think he ends up limp arming in this clip. Yep. All right, so just another reason to be proficient in dogfight if you're going to wrestle from this underhook, because when your attacks fail, you can end up there a lot of the time.